Hello everyone and welcome to Akron Buzz. Our guest today here in the studio is Bobby Dinkins, Vice President of Marketing and Development for the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad. Welcome to the program.
Great to be here. Thanks for having us today.
Tell me, first of all, how much you love your job. To be in marketing and development for one of the greatest assets in our community must be a fun job.
It is. You know, the railroad is something that, I say it's multi-generational, from little kids all the way up to grandparents and great-grandparents and stuff. They love the railroad. The railroad's got a great history in Northeast Ohio. You know, back when Siegfried Burling, who was the founder of this nearly 50 years ago, he had a vision. He operated Hill Farm and Village, and then he wanted to bring more people down into the village, and so he decided to see if he can get a railroad started, and so the first runs were from the Cleveland Zoo all the way down to Hill Farm and Village. So it's got a great historic value.
I did not know this.
Yeah, you know, the line that we run on right now from Rockside all the way down to Akron and back is the original line from the Cuyahoga Valley line back in the late 1800s. So it was canal boats and then railroads,
sure.
And so we're pleased that we're able to offer this service to the great people here in Northeast Ohio.
We are in the middle of Steam in the Valley.
Yes.
And I have to know that I am a rail fan. The rail fans come out. They come out to take pictures, to shoot video. They might not even ride the train. They might just go down to the Howe Meadow and watch it go by, and there's a photo op. But it's just, however you experience it, it's incredible. And it was last weekend and this weekend.
It is.
It's one of the biggest events for the railroad.
It is. It's one of our largest attended events. Not just purchasing tickets, which is big, but people just get excited about Steam in the Valley because it has such a rich history in this area, and also within the United States. When you think about steam locomotives really built this country back in the late 1800s and stuff when they came into play. And when this country is being formed east to west and stuff, and they needed goods and services and stuff, these are the kind of locomotives that brought those goods and services out west. So, part of our mission is providing heritage railroad experiences, and this really hits on that mission. We're able to bring in this 404 ton, it is 404 tons. We call it high stepping, this locomotive that's 15 feet high, and is celebrating its 75th birthday this month, actually.
Wow.
It was built 75 years ago in Lima, Ohio.
That's amazing. And it belongs to the Fort Wayne Railroad Society, or they have an excursion railway they do.
They do, Historical Society,
Historical Society, yes. And how did the relationship between the CVSR and the Fort Wayne start, or how did that come together?
Sure, yeah, it started a number of years ago, actually before I was at CVSR and stuff, but they're in the preservation business. They're a group of volunteers in Fort Wayne, Indiana, that have this locomotive. They have a number of steam locomotives that they have, just repurposed, and
sure.
they brought them back to life. And the 765 is one of those. So they like to show off their steam locomotive whenever they can. We're fortunate this year that we're the only group outside of Fort Wayne that is going to get the 765. So we're very excited about that. It's our second weekend coming up this Friday. We have a night run, which is one of the first times we've ever done a night run here at Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad. So we're actually starting up at Rockside Road, taking the trip all the way down to our Akron Depot. And then they get off the train at our Akron Depot, and they have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get nighttime shots at that locomotive sitting in our depot in Akron.
All the photographers out there need to be at the North Side Station at...
Yeah, so if you're riding the locomotive, because those people get first dibs on that stuff. Yeah,
of course.
So we're going to have it lit up down there stuff. It's going to be an amazing night. And that's just the first run on Friday night. Then we have 3 on Saturday. We still have tickets available. Saturday, out of our Rockside Road location, we go from at 10 a.m., at 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. Then our final runs are on Sunday. That's at our Akron Depot, and those are at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. So
these
tickets
are available. These events do sell out. You can't just add more train cars.
No.
I mean, there's a capacity issue here.
There is.
And the ales on rails and some of the wine on the train, the dinner on the train, all these events, as we talked about the Polar Express, certainly very popular. But how does this rank? I mean, you can't rank. All the events are great, but how do they rank?
You're right. They're all unique in their different ways. We've got events from preschoolers all the way up to the grandparents and great grandparents, and Steam in the Valley is one of those where I think it's multi-generational. What little kid doesn't love trains? And especially when you bring in this steam locomotive when it comes into the depot or it passes by you, and these little tots who it's this humongous just machine that's coming by them. with this loud whistle and this steam coming out of everywhere and stuff.
Sure.
And so they love it. And you go all the way up to their grandparents and great-grandparents, and they remember what these steam locomotives did for this country back in the day. And so they're thrilled also. It is one of our best events. It hits on our mission of Heritage Railroad experiences, so it's really cool this weekend.
How many of the observation deck cars are there with the big window on the roof, as they call it?
Yeah, so we've got our Vista Dome cars, our California Vista Dome cars, and we've got 3 of those now. As part of our ongoing capital campaign. We're fortunate enough to purchase 2 more of those Vista Domes actually about a year ago.
Wow.
We brought those in from California, so now we're the proud owners of 3 of the original California Vista Dome cars that were built back in the late 1940s.
Are all of them? I remember being on them when was there just a time when there was just one and it was new and we went on it. It's a very intimate experience, the way the seats are arranged. So you really need to do this with a group of friends.
It is. It's a unique way. When we had the Silver Bronco, which is the one you're referring to,
yes.
Now we have the sister car, which is the Silver Lariat, which is just like the Bronco. We have an observation dome on top, which has 24 seats. And then we also have the Silver Solarium now, which is a parlor car. It has a parlor underneath. It's also got bedrooms underneath the Vista Dome. We got 24 seats on top. It is a really unique experience. When these cars were built in the late 1940s, it was advertised as the most unique way to travel across the country. These cars used to go from Chicago to San Francisco and back daily. And it was the coolest way to travel. There's 360-degree views out of these Vista Domes when you're traveling across the country. So now, visitors that come to the national park, you get these 360-degree views of Ohio's only national park while riding the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad.
Yeah, it's spectacular and truly, as I said, we all know, an asset to the community. That and what's the future? Anything in the works? Anything when people say, what's the future? Certainly, it's here to stay. When you have an asset in the community, you always think, well, boy, I hope this is ongoing for generations. Yes. And what things are in place to guarantee? Certainly, you have committees and the board and every fundraisers and all of that. But how can somebody? Obviously, just by buying a ticket and riding, but make a contribution or guarantee this is here to stay.
And that's a great question. We are here to stay. We're a nonprofit organization,
right?
And we get funding different ways. Obviously, we get it from ticket sales is a big one. We also have a membership. We have a record number of members right now, over 2,000 members, where you can become a member. And you get different benefits. You get early access to Polar Express tickets. You get early access to our sold-out dinner trains. You get discounts in our cafe cars, so there's many different membership benefits. So you can become a member. We also have an annual fund where we have contributors donate to help us preserve our cars, because one of the things that people don't know a lot about our railroad is, we're in the historic preservation business.
Sure.
Most of our cars are 70 years old, not just the California Zephyr cars, but we have our coach cars that are 70 plus years old. We have a number of our dining cars that are 70 plus years old.
Parts are probably hard to come by.
They are. It takes a lot of money to run this railroad.
Sure.
and to keep these cars going. So we have many different opportunities to get involved. We're right in the middle of our capital campaign. We're trying to raise $5 million to support the railroad for different projects. We're about $2.5 million into it right now. And some of the cool projects that we just finished this year with our capital campaign, we just introduced them last Friday night at our Preservation for Generations fundraiser. We have a new, I'll say new to us, because it was redone. It was built in the 1940s, but we have a car called an edutainment car. And what it is, it's a rolling children's museum. What we found over the last few years is that when families get on our scenic railroad, which runs 5 days a week during the summertime, they're young toddlers, they're kids from ages 2 to 8. They love the train. They love it when it pulls in. The whistle blows. It comes into the depot, and they're so excited. They get on the train. It starts moving. They say, "Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, it's moving." We're so excited. Then about half an hour into it, they kind of get a little anxious and what's going on.
Is this the chance for a history and a science lesson at the same time, perhaps?
It is. So we have a car that we just finished. It's going to go on our scenic probably sometime the first part of October, and it is a car that used to be a coach car that we turned into a children's museum. We've got hands-on activities for kids to learn about the national park, to learn about trains, to learn about nature. We partnered with the Cleveland Children's Museum. We partnered with the Akron Children's Museum, the National Park, and Hale Farm and Village to get some exciting displays so the kids can learn, look out the window and learn about their national park and about trains. So that goes on first part of October. And then we also have a car that was kind of out of service for a number of years. It's called a rail diesel car. A rail diesel car is different from a regular train car in that it's a standalone car in that it operates independently from our train set.
Sure.
So it's got an engine on it that's like a bus engine, and it's got controls at both ends. And so it runs by itself.
It's a for switching or for moving stock around the rail yard?
No,
What does this car do?
It's a passenger car.
Oh.
And so they've been out of service for a number of years, and so we took one and we refurbished it and made it into this amazing car that companies can now rent, and they can do
Company events.
board meetings,
Of
company
course.
events. They can do fun
In one
things.
single car, just moving
One
up and
single
down the
car.
track.
Yeah, you know, it's
You have a captive audience when you do something like that.
no question, and it's independent from our train set. You know, we get a lot of people, a lot of people who want to rent our cars for private events. They want our companies want to do meetings on the train and stuff.
Holiday parties even.
Exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
And so they have to fit it within our current train schedule. This takes away that barrier.
Sure.
So now we can run this car independently on our train set, away from our train set, and we can have so much fun in this car. And it's a beautiful car, beautiful finishes, a bar in there, cherry wood finishes. We just introduced it last week, so we're going to put it on our rails here very soon.
I'll finish with a question about volunteer opportunities, because another segment of it, a lot of the conductors or people helping are volunteers, and this is essential to keep it all going.
No question. And I'm glad you asked that. It's really the core of what we are. You know, we're a nonprofit organization, and we rely on, you know, many different ways for funding, but we also rely heavily on our volunteers. We've got a group of volunteers. We had over 1,500 volunteers last year.
Wow.
And set a record of about 104,000 hours of volunteer time last year. And a core group of around 200 to 300 volunteers that are there, you know, more than 100 hours
Sure.
and stuff. We cannot run this railroad without our volunteers. Our volunteers do a wonderful job, from being trainmen on the train, that when you come on our train, they are the first people you see on our train car, are our trainmen. They do a great job with our passengers. They have great knowledge of not only Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad, they have a great knowledge of the national park, and they're willing to share that knowledge with everybody who comes on board. We also have our
great.
volunteers who are our conductors, our brakemen, and the engineer who operates our train is a volunteer.
Wow.
We have in our Fitzwater maintenance yard, which is where we house all of our train cars and where we work on all of our train cars, we have a core group of volunteers, about 30 or 40 people, who come there on a daily basis. They help us repair these cars. They help remodel these cars. It's really an amazing, it's an amazing story with Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad. I'll say, you know, our Heritage Railroad experiences, how long we've been here in the valley. We're the only nonprofit, you know, train that operates like this within a national park, and this core group of volunteers that really is the power behind Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad.
I operated a GP30 on the Cincinnati tourist line a couple of years ago of a group of friends, and somebody bought me as a gift.
Right,
you get to
right.
pay a little extra so I know maybe someday there'll be a position where you can pay a little extra and operate the train
Jump up
yourself.
there, yeah,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe not. I don't know.
see,
We'll
yeah.
see how that. All right. Well, I thought I'd see maybe there's
Yeah.
an opportunity for that. That's a lot of fun to
Yes.
do that. But it's been a lot of fun having you on and talking about the Cuyahoga Valley Scenic Railroad. Thank you for taking
Thank
the
you.
time.
Appreciate having us.
Bobby Dinkins, Vice President of Marketing and Development, has been our guest here on Akron Buzz. And of course, tickets still available for this weekend's Steam in the Valley, and that's at CVSR.org. It's the place to buy those online. All right. Well, thanks for being our guest, and thank you for watching Akron Buzz. We'll see you on the next one.